Welcome in, everybody, to the CFB Nation All-America podcast. I'm Bill Trocchi, senior editor at sportingnews.com, alongside Bill Bender, our national college football writer at sportingnews.com, and the president of the Football Writers Association of America. We're coming to you live on our CFB Nation YouTube channel again every Tuesday, Thursday, 9:30 Eastern Time. If you want to subscribe, go over to youtube.com, search CFB Nation, and click subscribe. You'll get a notification when we're about to go live and do this very, very, very entertaining show twice a week. So, Bill, we are getting ready for a whoa Nelly of a week, I would say. Do you agree?
Yeah, I mean, this is a great way to close September. 4 matchups between ranked teams, I believe, and they're good ones. Starting at noon with USC, Illinois, Ole Miss, LSU, and then the double. You better have 2 TV night game between Penn State and Oregon and Alabama and Georgia. And
what are you going to do? You're in the Penn State press box. You're not going to have 2 TVs in front of you there. It's going to be tough.
Pull up that Alabama game on the screen, obviously, and keep an eye on that. But, there'll be playoff ramifications all over the place. I mean, nobody out of those games will be eliminated, I don't think. But that's the urgency. And I'm glad we're playing games like this. At Sporting News, we have them covered. I know Mike DeCourcy wrote about Kalen DeBoer. I have a couple pieces coming here. I wrote about Kalen DeBoer. Mike wrote about James Franklin. And we'll have a piece about Big Ten time zone travel. I went in and dug into the numbers there, and it's real. And, any Big Ten fan will tell you that's been real forever. That's as real as the Rose Bowl. Big Ten teams have trouble traveling to the West Coast, the traditional guys. And we'll see if some of those teams can get through it this weekend. There's only one going that way, but there's 3 from the West Coast coming this way. And we'll see how much of a factor it is.
Definitely. So I'm calling this a Whoa Nelly weekend, all right? So in honor of the Whoa Nelly weekend, my Trocchi trivia question centers on Keith Jackson, Bill. One of your favorites, I assume. Keith Jackson's final broadcast was, of course, the Rose Bowl between Texas and USC. Legendary, one of the best, if not the best, college football game of all time. The Trocchi trivia question: who was Keith Jackson's color guy that night? Do you have that? Give that a thought. Game was on ABC Sports. It was the last year before they changed it to the branding of ESPN on ABC. So it was the final ABC Sports college football broadcast with Keith Jackson and the color guy, to be named later. We'll revisit at the end of the show, see if you can think of who was sitting alongside Keith Jackson at the Rose Bowl when Vince Young pulled off his magic. So before we get into our viewers guide, like you mentioned, a bunch of great games and everything, I wanted to quickly get your thoughts on Mike Gundy's firing, how attractive Oklahoma State is. And then one thing I actually didn't put in the rundown, a question part 2 of the 4 jobs that are already open: Stanford, since they have an interim, Virginia Tech, Oklahoma State, and now I'm drawing a blank on the 4th.
Stanford, Oklahoma State, Virginia Tech, and UCLA.
UCLA. Who's going to win the most games in the next 5 years? They're all kind of starting on the bottom. Who has the most potential of those 4 schools? First, let's start with Oklahoma State. Were you surprised Gundy got fired?
I'm surprised they didn't give him like a resign at the end of the year deal. I mean, he's meant as much as the program. Stuart Mandel yesterday tweeted that Oklahoma had an all-time winning percentage of 465 when he took over, and he was 653. So, there's got to be some appreciation for that, unless it's so toxic in the locker room, which I doubt. I mean, they lost to Tulsa, but Mike Gundy, he was good for college football. He's good character. We all know I'm a man, I'm 40. We all know that one. But he had a couple other ones that are just as funny and, meant a lot to that program, had them in the Big 12 championship hunt. And I thought they should have given him a farewell tour. But, they did what they had to do. It's not an easy job. I know that's one of the questions you have. I think in this landscape, the commitment has to come outside in terms of who's going to give money to this thing. It's T. Boone Pickens and all that. That's part of the reason why they have the resources they do. But, not too far down the road, Texas Tech, I watched them Saturday, look like a playoff team. And NIL, and we've made a lot about that. This is the game now. So whoever takes that job is going to have a tough time just with that stat that Stewart put out there. It's going to be very easy to drift back into mediocrity if you're Oklahoma State, because you're still in the shadow of Oklahoma, right? And Oklahoma has the SEC and all those things that they have. So, part of this could be, nobody's really pointed to this, is how much of this impact on the Oklahoma State program and kids going there is they're not playing Oklahoma anymore. That's part of it too, I would imagine. That distance that's going to be created between the Sooners and Cowboys may be due in part to the Oklahoma Sooners going to the SEC.
I was kind of racking my brain for a comp for Oklahoma State. And was it that this one guy built this thing kind of out of nothing? And then when he leaves, could be big time trouble. I'm thinking Virginia Tech. I'm thinking Frank Beamer and what he did, built that thing up, top 5 seasons, national championship appearance. And since he's left, they haven't been able to keep it going. I have a fear that the same thing's going to happen to Oklahoma State.
Or Oregon State or Washington State. They better have the right coach, because they don't have that brother that they're playing every year. So I think that's something, maybe we just kind of stumbled into that conversation, because I think that's part of it as well. So Oklahoma State, I'll talk about them a little bit later in this podcast when we get to the confidence contest. There's a hint for you.
All right. Very good. So, which is not going well for the Trocchi side at this point. You've beat me 4 weeks in a row, but just barely each week. So I'm still in it. I need a big comeback in 1 week, and I will set the record straight there. So, all right, let's get into our viewer's guide. Bill, we're starting Friday night this week, if you can believe it. It's worth a discussion. Number 24, TCU at Arizona State, 9:00 on Fox. Arizona State, 2.5-point favorite. Arizona State, of course, kicked a field goal on the final play of the game to win at Baylor last week, a very Big 12 way to win the game. They're 3-1. TCU's 3-0. They beat North Carolina and SMU. It's a great game here. Just go to your high school football game, catch the second half before you go to bed. This is it's a big data point in the Big 12.
For sure. Here's an opportunity. I picked, they're not in my confidence contest, but I picked TCU to win this game. It's starting to feel like Sonny's got something again, and it's not just because I remember watching them in the opener against North Carolina. Josh Hoover is one of the best quarterbacks in the country. 1,000 passing yards, 11 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, right there among the Big 12 leaders. Arizona State did win last week, but they were dangerously close to losing to Baylor. I think TCU's got some guys on defense, some veterans like Bud Clark that are part of that team that has had a lot of success, and they were really good at the end of last year. So if you're good enough to win the Big 12, then you're good enough to go into that environment. And we know Arizona State is a home field advantage, but I could see a light upset here. Raleek Brown's done a nice job for Arizona State with Sam Levitt. We're all talking about Cam Scadaboo's on every fantasy team right now. He's been rolling. But
I got him too.
Yeah, I have him on mine. He's give him the ball, man. He's doing great. And but I think TCU can pull this one out. And then, Florida State, Virginia is going to be good.
I was going to say, keep the clicker handy. We got number 8, Florida State at Virginia, also on Friday night. Florida State favored by 6.5. Virginia, Chandler Morris, quarterback, tearing it up. He's the second-ranked passer in the ACC, Bill. This is a funny stat. Tomos Castellanos would be number 1, but you need to average 15 passes a game. And he hasn't thrown 15 passes a game in any game this year for Florida State yet.
He will. He might next week.
He doesn't qualify for the ACC passer ratings, but, see if he throws enough passes this week.
Virginia averages 45.5 points per game. So
I know
if you're a Clemson fan, you're watching Tony Elliott now being like, really? Like he did. It took a while for him to get that going. And, if the Cavs can make that interesting, I believe they're going to be wearing some unique uniforms for this game. So watch out. That'll be fun. I still like Florida State. I think they're going to get through that one. And next week we're going to spend a considerable amount of time talking about Florida State and Miami and the reemergence and having that back. It's going to be great.
The glory days of the 80s and 90s coming back. All right, our noon window on Saturday. You mentioned it already, number 23 USC at number 21 Illinois. Noon on ABC. USC is favored by 6.5. USC won its 4 games by an average of 53-20 so far. They beat Purdue and Michigan State by 2 touchdowns each. Jaden Mayava is the only QB in the country averaging over, well, no, that's not true. He is averaging over 300 yards a game. Lincoln Riley, maybe he's the only quarterback in the Big Ten who's averaging over 300 yards a game. But anyway, Lincoln Riley and his QB magic has been off the radar a tad lately, but are we ready to believe in Mayava? Illinois embarrassed last week by Indiana. They really need to pick themselves up here. The higher-ranked team is almost a touchdown underdog at home, which is interesting. That's how bad they looked last week. USC, awful in 2 time zone travel games last year, 0-3. You saw a chunk of Illinois getting hammered last week. I was busy with the tennis. What happens here?
Well, good morning to Stymie, one of our loyal listeners. He's in here today. That's great.
All right, welcome back.
So here's what Lincoln Riley had to say. Going from the absolute latest kick in the country to the absolute earliest kick in the country has its challenges, but the challenges, like, it is what it is. Man, he sounds like I hear that in my house every day. We don't make the schedule, clearly. Well, he's right. So we dug into that a little bit at Sporting News, and spoiler is, you got 3 West Coast teams going across the country this week. They were 7-8 straight up. So I'm talking about UCLA, USC, Oregon, and Washington. Washington didn't win a game in 2 times in travel last year. UCLA actually won 2. They beat Rutgers and Nebraska, and Oregon didn't lose. Of course, but they're not covering. So bettors will tell you that. And then USC, they did beat Purdue 33-17 earlier this year, but that was a night game. So this is a big game for them because if they win, they get a bye week. Then Michigan and Notre Dame are the next 2 games, and that's when it gets serious. Michigan comes out to the Coliseum. Then they go to Notre Dame. Lincoln Riley will be making more news. Jaden Mayava could emerge as a Heisman candidate. So what's Illinois going to do about it? They were in shambles last week. That was not what I expected at all. And, they got the early kick time, and they do have a good defense. They were missing a couple guys last year, but I guess I moved off Illinois pretty quick, maybe too quick, because I do like USC if they can not turn the ball over. One thing about USC, they've got 2 good running backs. They've been able to run the football. That's one of the underrated things. And those of us that stayed up and watched them beat Michigan State Saturday know that they've got a pretty good running game to rely on this year.
I mean, what happened to Illinois?
I
didn't see it. It is just like I saw the score. I was like, unbelievable.
Yeah, I don't know what to think of Illinois after that game. I don't, because I thought, hey, this is pretty even. Some of it might be about Indiana and Fernando Mendoza and, this dynamic running game that they have. They have 3 guys averaging 5 yards a carry. They have a defense around D'Angelo Pons that's really good. So Illinois, maybe we hyped them up too much. Now, our editor, Elliot, would use this as an opportunity to stump against preseason polls. But you know what? Like, on paper, they should have been better than that. But I think the story to me was less about Illinois and more about just Indiana's probably pretty darn good.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay, let's touch on another noon game. Number 22 Notre Dame at Arkansas. That's on ABC. Notre Dame is favored by 4. Notre Dame picked up its first victory of the season last week. It buried Purdue in the second half after a long weather delay, 56-30. They are still piecing together answers for their defense. Their offense is looking good. CJ Carr, so far so good at quarterback. I think the wide receiver room is a little bit better, but the defense has been kind of lit up. They got lit up by Purdue in the first half, And Marcus Freeman was very frustrated after the game. Now he's facing a very, very good offense. Arkansas lost 32-31 to Memphis. Their final 3 drives in the fourth quarter reached the Memphis 22-yard line. They had interception. The 31-yard line, they got sacked out of field goal range. And then at the 9-yard line, they fumbled. So not great there, Bill. But they are averaging 552 yards a game. That's got to scare the you-know-what out of Notre Dame this weekend.
Yeah, they're going to move it up and down. And for those that love to ask the question, I'd like to know where Lou Holtz is right now. Hopefully he's at this game because he coached at Arkansas and he coached at Notre Dame. And it's the Lou Holtz Bowl in some ways. And when I saw Notre Dame's schedule, I thought this was a tricky game regardless of their defensive struggles so far. So Fayetteville's tough. And they're going to have the crowd against them and all those things. I do like how they ran the ball. I think CJ Carr's starting to develop. He's probably the quarterback we've talked about of the young guys the least, and that's in a good way. That means he's just kind of doing his job. He's not been, unbelievable, but he's been good enough. Their defense will need to be better. Otherwise, this Chris Ash hire will continue to be the focus. Their pass defense is not good. It should be better. You have All-American caliber players on that back end. And you're facing Taylor Green, who's one of the best, not one of the best quarterbacks, but he can threaten you, right? He's got some of the best numbers. So that could be a wild game. If you're betting that game, we'll talk about it here in a minute, in a few minutes.
Our visitor, Carl Kramer, mentions that Leonard Moore, he's questionable. He missed the Purdue game, didn't dress for that. He's one of those players on the back end that you were talking about that should be better. They on paper have a good secondary. He missed last week, like I said. We'll see if he plays. That's going to be an important part for Notre Dame. They got to figure something out
for sure.
He's going to be a key piece if they want to slow down Arkansas. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I mean, and I don't think Marcus Freeman likes high-scoring games. I think Marcus Freeman likes to win 24-10.
Right.
But that is not the style of this team. He needs to adapt. He needs to figure it out. And it's going to be definitely a challenge for Notre Dame at Arkansas. And so that's going to be a fun one, too.
Carl confirms Holtz will be there. So what is he going to wear? A split jersey or a split pullover that's like half Hog and then half Notre Dame?
He's pretty big Notre Dame. I can't see.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be wearing that. Well, it is at Arkansas. That will be one of the more entertaining noon games, though, no doubt.
Definitely. Keep the clicker handy for the noon window. There's only 2 other ranked teams in the noon window, Bill, and I have connections to both. Number 16, Georgia Tech visits Wake Forest at noon on ESPN, and number 18, Vanderbilt hosts Utah State, 12:45 SEC Network. Vanderbilt looking to go 5-0 before its highly anticipated rematch with Alabama next week. Let's move on to the afternoon window. We've got number 4 LSU at number 13 Ole Miss, 3:30 ABC. Ole Miss, despite being ranked 9 slots below LSU, the 1-point favorite. This rivalry survived the new SEC scheduling format. We haven't discussed that on the pod. We will at some point, I'm sure. So that's good. 2 fascinating subplots to this game. One, Lane Kiffin is debating between starting quarterback Austin Simmons, who's essentially missed the last 2 games with a lower body injury, and backup Trinidad Chambliss, who has averaged 330 passing yards a game in wins over Arkansas and Tulane. On Tuesday, Kiffin said the health of Simmons will be the most important factor in deciding who plays. Subplot number 2, Lane Kiffin's daughter Landry is dating LSU linebacker Whit Weeks. Who is Landry rooting for, Bill?
Yeah,
very important stuff. Which subplot do you want to talk about first?
That one, obviously. Like I was on Sirius XM yesterday talking with Hester and Bobby Carpenter and EJ, and I have a 6th grade daughter. Not that she's ready for dating yet or anything like that, but I said if I was coaching and she was dating a player on the other team and she wore their jersey, she would just get the really, are we serious look?
That'd be a big problem.
Yeah, like what are we doing now? It goes back to remember Laura Quinn when she wore she was dating AJ
Hawk.
and she wore the Notre Dame Ohio State split jersey, which still is around somewhere apparently. Something like that. But the game itself, it's about Chambliss to me. Is he going to start? He's been brilliant. The LSU defense is nasty. That's where this game is. It has the potential to get really wild because it's BK, it's Lane. I presented the scenario where if Ole Miss beats LSU and Alabama beats Georgia, Ole Miss will be the highest ranked SEC team on Sunday because they'll be undefeated. All those teams will have one loss. And they could be as high as 4.
What about the Commodores, Bill? What about the Commodores?
Well, Ole Miss, they're going to get – Ole Miss will move up further for beating LSU than Vanderbilt will for beating
over Utah State.
Yeah. Well, and in our Killing DeBoer feature that we have going tomorrow, I point out that 10 SEC teams that are ranked, 13 of them have 1 loss or less. So Paul Feinbaum's point about the committee and they better weigh this or they're going to regret it. I mean, it's very real because this is the most competitive conference with the most good teams. I think that's the fairest way to put it. I mean, Vanderbilt's good. Like they're not a punchline, as you know. They are a good football team. So, I've gone on a tangent here, but this LSU Ole Miss game has a chance out of the 4 ranked games that we are going to talk about to be the most entertaining. It really does. And I think it's going to be great.
Yeah, I do too. So, all right, keep the clicker handy. 3:30 window or the afternoon window. Number 1, Ohio State visits Washington. That one's on CBS, one of those two time zone travel games. Number 11, Indiana at Iowa, 3:30 on Peacock, unfortunately, and not on regular TV. Auburn at number 9, Texas A&M. That's at 3:30, another SEC game. That's on ESPN. And then Utah at West Virginia, 3:30 on Fox. Any of those grab you? Any of those?
Ohio State, Washington. That line's dropped 6 points. 6 points. And I'm seeing an open debate. I think Josh Pate tweeted something about like they were comparing the Washington environment with the whiteout. So Ohio State, we'll see. It's Julian Sands' first road start at Washington. Washington's put up some good numbers. Damon Williams is having a good year. But that defense will travel for Ohio State, in my opinion. They are very good on that side of the ball. They've played at Washington before. It's been a long time. I think Maurice Claret was there. I'm trying to think of the Washington quarterback. They had a quarterback last name Pickett. I feel like Cody Pickett. That was Washington's quarterback the last time they were out there. So it'll be a fun game. But that 2 time zone stat, like I said, the traditional Big Ten teams, 3-11 straight up since the start of last year when they go out there. In ranked games, 1-3. Michigan went out to Washington and lost last year. Ohio State went out to Oregon and lost. Illinois lost at Oregon. The only win was Penn State at USC, a 33-30 overtime game. So that's probably why that line has dropped the way it has dropped.
8.5 is the latest I see. 8.5 for Ohio State. So interesting. Okay. All right. So now we go to the evening. We go to the Whoa Nelly portion of our program. Number 6, Oregon at number 3, Penn State. You will be in the house, 7:30 on NBC. Great coverage at sportingnews.com after that game. Please tune in. Penn State, 3.5-point favorites. Whiteout time. You will be there. Like I said, beware the traffic, Bill. I've heard some nightmares about game days at Penn State. Huge matchup. I think we all feel this is a 3-team race in the Big Ten between Penn State, Oregon, and Ohio State. Unfortunately, Oregon and Ohio State do not play this year, so we won't have a true round robin in the regular season at least. Both teams were preseason top 10 and have really done nothing to show those rankings were not accurate, although both have played virtually no competition to date. Penn State has played Nevada, Florida International, and Villanova. And after that gauntlet, they needed a bye week to get ready for Oregon. So it's as set up as can be for them. The Ducks had beaten up on Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, and Oregon State. Some traditional programs there, but all 3 of them are having down seasons this year. No one's come within 20 points either way. So neither team has had like a sort of a stressful game, so to speak. James Franklin, his well-documented big game struggles. We've been waiting for Drew Aller to kind of wow us in a big game. That hasn't really happened yet. And then we talk about Dante Moore, too, the new quarterback at Oregon. He's looked good, but obviously he hasn't been in an environment that he's going to be in anything remotely resembling what he will face on Saturday. Finally, last year, Oregon beat Penn State 45-37 in the Big Ten championship game. I don't know if you think that'll factor in at all, but what do you think? You're getting ready to pack up and head east.
Yeah, I'm excited. Yeah. First, the whiteout, and I've been to 2 of them. It's one of those, kind of you if you go, you have a like, this is why I do what I do moment. It's like, this is awesome. Look at the stadium, look at the, it's pretty cool scene. That's not overrated. It's not overhyped. It's none of it's amazing. And obviously this is a statement game for Penn State and James Franklin, and that, Drew Aller, who, has won a lot of football games, but his play in these games comes under fire a lot. Now for Oregon, what a state that, like, on the reverse, like, we know about James Franklin's record against top 10 teams. We don't have to rehearse that. Mike DeCourcy wrote a really good piece with insight from longtime Penn State writer Dave Jones, Tyler Donahue. He covers Penn State, Jake Butt, just an amazing Big Ten network or Big Ten analyst.
He had great quotes in that story.
Oh,
Butt's quotes were just spot on.
He might be 2 of the best analysts in the country, and I'm biased because I know both of them. And I've had a chance to talk to him several times. Jake Butt and Josh Perry are 2 of the best analysts in the country, period. And, I've seen those 2 have fun about the Michigan-Ohio State thing. They're both Central Ohio guys. They're outstanding. Josh is outstanding on the NBC coverage. And Jake just knows the game. Pickerington, Ohio, represent. He's amazing. He does a fantastic job. So read that story. But think about the statement that Oregon can make. They came into the Big Ten last year, and I'm a Big Ten snob. So I'm like, okay, show us what you got, like, kind of deal. They fly the duck, or they bring the duck on the river. They kind of announce their presence. And they've done it in such a way where they beat Ohio State in the regular season. They beat Michigan at Michigan by 3 touchdowns. And now they have a chance. They won a Big Ten championship. They lose the Rose Bowl, fair. But now they have a chance to go to, like, what most Big Ten fans consider the man, you just can't go there, and go win a game there with Dante Moore, who's playing at just an unbelievable level. So, again, time zone's a factor. They are, I think, 4-0 going 2 time zones. Had a little trouble covering. As a couple of our Sporting News staffers will mention about the Northwestern game. But
they're undefeated. They're undefeated in the Big Ten, the regular season.
Yeah, they've never lost a Big Ten game. So Dan Lanning can make a really big statement here. I haven't seen what they're wearing, so I'm a big uniform guy. I want to see what uniforms they're going to put against that whiteout. I don't think they're going to wear. You're going to wear white against it, but what combination does it have? That matters. Are they going to wear white on white? I don't know, man. What
if they lean into it and they go all white?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, when you see that, though, it is hypnotizing. Like, that's the phrase I would use about a whiteout. It is pretty cool. So can't wait. Going to be a lot of fun. We'll get out there Saturday, so you'll have to read Sporting News.
All right. Number 17. Let's keep moving on. Number 17, Alabama at number 5, Georgia, 7:30 on ABC. Georgia is favored by 3. Here's my whoa Nelly, baby. This is an incredible game last year. One of the best regular season games I've ever covered. Georgia was number 2. Alabama was number 4. Alabama won 41-34, an incredible fashion. They were up 28-0. They led 30-7 at halftime. Georgia comes storming back, takes the lead, 34-33 with 2:31 to go, and then Ryan Williams makes that crazy, spectacular, spinning 75-yard touchdown catch and run from Jalen Milroe. Alabama moves to number 1 and promptly lose to Vanderbilt the following week. Now they meet again, this time in Athens, this crazy series. It's only the 5th time in 34 years that Alabama has played in Athens. The 2 teams have met in Atlanta 5 times since 2012. So they have definitely met in the middle, but they have not visited each other campuses. Hopefully that's going to come to an end pretty soon. They're going to play more frequently with this new SEC scheduling format, which is a good thing. All right, let's get down to it. First thing I'm looking for is Georgia. Can they run the ball against Alabama? They put up 44 points against Tennessee, but they only averaged 3.6 yards per carry. That number will need to be higher, I think, to win this game. And then the second thing I'm looking for, can Alabama handle itself in this road environment? 2-5 outside of Tuscaloosa under Kalen DeBoer. Straight up 2-5. They beat Wisconsin and LSU. They lost to Vanderbilt, Tennessee, Oklahoma, Michigan, and Florida State on the road in just a year and a half here. So thoughts on this one down in the South?
Alternative stat on Kalen DeBoer that I talked to Greg McElroy this week, and then I went and looked it up. So you take the last 2 years at Washington, last year at Alabama, and into now, he's 13-2 against ranked opponents. So take this quote from, and it's a sneak peek at our story. Greg McElroy said, "I think Kalen in a big game is incredible because he's the most even-keeled, laid-back guy ever." And that contradicts what an Alabama fan will tell you when they say they want to see butt chewing and, they want to see Nick Saban breaking the headsets. They want to see those kind of things. And I think that's the difference is I think they criticize his demeanor more than anything else. But when you lose that many road games, it happens. The pressure to me in this game is equal. Yeah, you just routed off all those road stats. We know they've got to win a road game here. Georgia's won 33 straight home games. Okay. Georgia has not, I always frame that stat this way. I turned 46 in 2 weeks. Georgia has not lost a home game since my 40th birthday because I was off that day. And I told, I convinced whoever, I can't remember who my editor was.
Was it South Carolina?
It was the South Carolina game. I took the day off for my 40th birthday. Sporting News gave me the day off because they knew I was going to get into some trouble, but which I did. But I remember watching that game in the noon window and thinking, man, should I write about this? And Kimberly pulled me away because I was like, this is crazy. They're losing to South Carolina. So they have not lost at home since. It's an intimidating environment. So I think, but the pressure point's very real for Georgia. I talked to some Alabama fans, and we wouldn't have lost that national championship game if Jamison Williams didn't get hurt. There's a psychological bend both ways, which makes this a really good, fun game.
Yeah. So Stymie here in our chat room, Gunner hasn't quite settled in yet. What do you think about the quarterback matchup?
Gunner's
excited about either one of these guys. Do you think? What do you?
Well, because they're the prototype Georgia Alabama national title type quarterbacks. Gunner, I agree to a point, but Gunner did make the throw of the season, in my opinion, to London Humphreys so far. Ty Simpson, you look at his numbers, you're like, I'm a big fan of quarterbacks that wait their turn, and he's waited his turn. He's a 5-star guy. And I do think revisionist history, at what point are we looking at that Florida State loss and just saying, well, Florida State's pretty darn good. They might win the ACC. They were at home. It was humid. It was hot. It was all those things. So I do think a lot of things are at work in this game. It's going to create a large reaction. These have been the two best programs other than Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama. Those are the three programs that have defined. You could rope
5 years at least.
Yeah, the last 5 years. Michigan, you could rope in there with the exception of last year. Those four in Oregon, that's top 5 records. So whenever you have these schools on the same field, it's pretty cool.
Cal Kramer points out Georgia tough time. Kirby 1-6 against Alabama. So he needs to he's got an opportunity to go 2-6. We'll see about that one. That's going to be very fun. Keep the clicker handy in the evening. Arizona at Iowa State, 7 p.m. on ESPN2. A pair of undefeated Big 12 teams. That race is always going to be crowded. Kentucky at South Carolina is the SEC Network game at 7:45. And at 10:15 on ESPN for the Night Owls, we got number 25, BYU, visiting Deion Sanders and the boys out in Colorado. All right, time for our confidence contest. Oh, boy. Got to get my notepad out here. Bill, you beat me 9-8 last week. So the season standings You are up 36-29. We pick 5 games a week against the spread. Any games, we order them 1 through 5 in our confidence, like a confidence bowl contest. So you are going to kick us off with our 5-pointer against the spread. Where are you going?
Ohio State minus 8.5, because I think there's no reason for them not to win that game by 10.
You just did the research, Bill. It's tough.
I did, but I think they're better. I think, this will, if you have that much talent, you can go on the road and show it. I do think it's going to be a tough test for them. I see a defense that's up for it. And yeah, it's going to be loud, but we'll find out. I mean, it's a risky pick because yes, that line is dumped that much, but I always look at it this way. Like when a line moves that much, I'm kind of like, they're baiting you.
There's value.
Now that, like, if that line was 14 and stuck and the Buckeyes win by what I think they're going to win, I think they're going to win by 10. So I think it's going to be like 27-17. And it might be a late cover. It might be something like that. But I've watched Ohio State do this for years. I think Ryan Day's only lost to one unranked opponent, and they don't really like to talk about that game from last year, who that unranked opponent was. So
this one doesn't have the psychological baggage of that one, right?
No, not quite. So they are a take care of business type team. I think they do here. I'm going to take the Buckeyes for 5.
All right. My 5-pointer is going to be Syracuse +6 against Duke. Home dog. Seems like a toss-up game to me, so that's why I'm surprised with the line. Syracuse coming off a big win at Clemson. They're running sprints after the game. They got to be in the best shape of any team. They lost Steve Angeli, no QB, but Ricky Collins actually is a good backup QB. He was in the running in the spring. He had a really good spring game. Angeli, of course, won the job, but I don't think it's like a huge drop-off for them. Duke's 2-2, nice win over NC State, but lost its only road game so far at Tulane. I just think it's a toss-up, so I'm going to take the points. Syracuse +6.
Yeah, that's my 4. So
that's your 4?
Yeah. So I mean, same speech. I think they can win outright. They're at home, and Matt Hayes at USA Today had an excellent column about why Fran Brown is going to be one of the SEC's most coveted coaches because of what he's been able to accomplish in a short time. He has some it factor to him. There's no question. And not afraid to mix it up. So, that's the kind of guy that kids like to rally around. And I think they're going to win outright. So give me the orange. What is it? I had it at 5. So getting me an extra point, no question. I'm taking it.
Got a 6. Yeah. He's a great recruiter at Georgia before he went to Syracuse, and he's done a nice job there. So, all right, 4-pointer for me. Virginia +7 at home against Florida State Friday night. The home dog on Friday night is a thing. I don't have the actual numbers, but I know it's a thing. Okay. Chandler Morris has been awesome for Virginia, transfer QB from North Texas, 8 touchdowns, 1 interception. He had 4 touchdowns last week against Stanford. The Cabs have been revived. FSU is in a big-time look-ahead spot like we talked about. Miami next week. Weird things happen on Friday nights. I'm taking Virginia +7.
Yes, and Mr. Bucknuts in our chat from Cleveland, we should ban him because if he's a Browns fan, he needs banned for a week after the Packers' embarrassing loss. No, I'm kidding. Great win for the Browns last week, but I'm laughing at that. So we got some Ohio guys in the chat. There's nothing wrong with that. My 2, or no, 3. I'm on 3. Notre Dame, give me it. Go ahead and is it 4 or 4.5?
4.
4. I trust them. Trust them to get out of Arkansas with a win. I think their offense is enough to, if it's a shootout and they can win 38-31, Marcus Freeman will take it and not care and get out of there. Now, yes, they do need to shore it up on defense. There's no question. But I think they're just a better team than Arkansas. I think Arkansas, we'll see where their headspace is after last week. You just never know, right? Like you have a chance to win that game and go from there. And Mr. Bucknuts confirms that he's a Raiders fan. So we'll allow him to stay for the rest of the confidence contest.
Interesting. Notre Dame has been tested on the road. They played pretty good at Miami. Not good enough. They could not come up with the stops when they needed to in the fourth quarter, but they have been in a crazy road environment already.
Yeah.
We'll see if that helps them on Saturday night. My 3-pointer, I'm going back to the well with the Friday night dog. Arizona State plus 2.5 versus TCU Friday night. This is a gift from the gambling gods with having two home dogs on Friday nights. I'm a big believer in that. Arizona State waited to the last second to win against Baylor. That was on the road, of course. This is good. They've had 2 close games already this year. This will be their first dogfight at home. Kenny Dillingham has built a nice home field advantage. They've won 8 straight at home. So
they had dog now. They were a fave to open the week. I thought.
Double check. It's 2.5. Got it in front of me. No, you're right.
They're 2.5-point favorite because
2.5 favorite.
You should still take them anyway at that point.
Yeah, I still think they're going to win. I still think
I took TCU in an upset earlier this week, so I was like, "Wait, did that line shift?"
No, you're right.
Yeah,
I made a mistake. So yeah, minus 2.5, but I do think they're going to extend that home winning streak to 9.
All right, I got Oregon for my 2 plus 3.5, and it's the ultimate hedge because I picked Penn State to win, and I think this will be a field goal game either way. And Dan Lanning's got some, you want to talk about it factor. You like that guy or not, he wins. And they will be aggressive. They've looked good. Their defense is going to get after it. How do they manage the whiteout environment? I have no idea. But I do think Penn State's going to win the game. So I'm going to play with some fire there. It is a 2-pointer. But if the Ducks win, I mean, I could see it. They a lot of people think they're the best team in the country right now. So it's a chance for them to show it. And if you go and win games like that, that means you are. So give me the Ducks plus 3.5.
So I learned my lesson to stay away from this game last week because to me, Indiana had played absolutely nobody, and I didn't know what to expect. I picked Illinois, and I was very, very, very wrong.
That was the most wrong I've been about a game all year. So and I'm okay with that.
Right. So these 2 teams haven't played anybody.
Right.
Both teams. So I'm not touching it. I'm going to wait till we have a data point where they actually have some competition. My 2-pointer, I'm going with LSU.
Don't hate it.
Plus 1 on the road at Ole Miss. I think this spread's kind of an overreaction to one blowout win for Ole Miss against Tulane. Like they didn't do much in their other 2 games prior to that. LSU's good. As Brian Kelly says, they play to win the game. They've got a very dependable defense, kind of like Michigan with J.J. McCarthy. Like they didn't unleash him. They just kind of did what they had to do to win the game. And, Nussmeier's capable when he needs to be, but he hasn't had to, when Florida keeps throwing you the ball, he doesn't have to light things up. Plus, I think Lane's distracted by Whit Weeks. So there you go.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Tigers.
I picked the Tigers too, but not for this contest because that's my kind of stay away game because I know there's a high goofiness factor to it because of all these things we're reading. I might need you to check a spread, but my one in tribute to the man, Mike Gundy, I think it's 21.5. Oklahoma State, Baylor. The Pokes are at home.
Yeah, 21.
I think they're going to come out and play really hard. So give me the Pokes. I don't know that they win, but I think the Pokes cover that 21 against a Baylor team that suddenly has 2 losses. They haven't exactly played hard yet, so I don't know. They're at home, and it's time. And it's kind of like a tribute because wherever Mike Gundy is, and hopefully he's sitting in a comfortable chair, maybe a cold one watching that game because he's going to watch that game. And the Cowboys give him a little tribute by covering against the Bears. And if they don't, then then they don't. And it's a 1-pointer.
All right. I'm giving a shout out to Stymie. Stymie made this call for me. 1-pointer, NC State minus 10.5 at home against Virginia Tech and their interim coach. NC State coming off a loss to Duke. They're a good team. Virginia Tech is kind of packed it in. I don't see them coming up with a big road effort to slow down C.J. Bailey. C.J. Bailey had 3 picks against Duke, but he threw for 364 yards. I don't think he throws those picks at home this weekend. I think they win by at least 2 touchdowns. So
there you go.
Let's review the picks. You've got Ohio State on the road, -8.5. Syracuse, home dog, +6. Notre Dame on the road, -4. Oregon on the road, +3.5. And Oklahoma State in a Mike Gundy tribute game, +21 against Baylor. I'm going
believer.
Syracuse at home as my 5. I'm going Virginia as a home dog, +7 on a Friday night. Arizona State covers on Friday night. LSU +1 on the road at Ole Miss, and NC State covers at home, -10.5. This is the week I catch up to you, Bill. So, all right, let's return to the Trocchi trivia question. With this Whoa Nelly week of matchups, I went Keith Jackson. Who was Keith Jackson's color guy in his final famous broadcast at the Rose Bowl between Texas and USC?
I totally blank because I know I have a guess, and I have an educated guess, but I'm not sure it's him.
And bonus questions, I've got the sideline reporters too, so just keep it going.
Well, Lynn Swan was probably on the sideline, right? No? They had moved on from that team. So I'm going to go with the guy. I got to say Bob Greasy, because that was his partner for all those years, right? Is that correct?
Not Bob Greasy. That's a guess I got from another friend when I tried this.
Because when you think about the play, the play that we all replay, and full disclosure, I'll tell you this real story. We got time. It's fine. When I was watching that game, I was a sports editor at The Advocate in Newark, Ohio. So I was kind of watching the game, but also working, and we didn't really have the sound up. So like, all I remember from that game is Keith Jackson. So give me one more guess at the color guy.
I'll give you a hint. It was a quarterback from basically the same era that Greasy played.
Okay. Give me 1 second. Oof. You know what? Just let it rip. Let me know. Tell me.
Dan Fouts.
Oh my gosh. But so Fouts was Musburger's guy. Yeah. That and then was Jackaroot on the sideline?
No, Jackaroot was on the side. There's one sideline reporter who's still going strong. So one was Todd Harris, which I don't really remember him. And then the second was Holly Rowe.
There you go.
Still going strong.
Todd Harris is famous in these parts because there was an Ohio State-Michigan game where he asked Lloyd something at the end of the half. Like Lloyd Carr, instead of driving the field, they kind of laid up. And Lloyd asked him, look it up. He said something like, why would you ask such a stupid question to Todd? And then he glares at Todd. And then coming out of the second half, I'll never forget this. Todd said something like, after making a lifelong friendship with Coach Carr, he told me, it was great. Like, so Todd Harris was really good. And Holly Rowe, obviously an institution, one of the best, one of the nicest people. So, man, I'm going to kick myself.
CJ Carr's grandfather makes an appearance on this.
Yeah. So we got it all here, man. Like we have good, I'm going to kick myself all day for not knowing Dan Fouts though.
All right. Well, that was great. Really fun show. I hope we previewed the week for you, because it's going to be a great one. Thanks to everyone for listening to the CFB Nation All-America podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. And for those of you here on the YouTube channel, thank you to Irish Breakdown, your source for Notre Dame football information. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we will see you next week.